Hello. Hello. Am I audible? Yes. या देवी स्तूयते नित्यं विबुधैर्वेदपारगैः सा मे वसतु जिह्वाग्रे ब्रह्मरूपा सरस्वती श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणालयं करुणालयं नमामि ಭಗವತ್ಪಾದಶಂಕರಂ ಲೋಕಶಂಕರಂ. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುಭ್ಯೋ ನಮಃ. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಸಂಗೀತ ಜ್ಞಾನಮು ಹಾಗೂ SLN ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಅರ್ಪಿಸುತ್ತಿರುವ ಇಂದಿನ ಸಂಜೆಯ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಸಂಗೀತ ಜ್ಞಾನಮು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸಂಗೀತದ ಪವಿತ್ರ ಪರಂಪರೆಗಳನ್ನು ಗೌರವಿಸುವ ವಿನಮ್ರವಾದ ಚಳುವಳಿಯ ಈ ವಿಶೇಷ ಸಮಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ನಾನು ನಿಂತಿರುವುದು ನನ್ನ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಭಾವಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಇದು ಸಂಗೀತದ ಪಾವಿತ್ರ್ಯತೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅದರ ಧಾರ್ಮಿಕ ಭಕ್ತಿಪರ ಮೂಲಗಳನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸಲು ಸಮಾನ ಮನಸ್ಕರ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನದಿಂದ ಉಂಟಾದ ಒಂದು ವಿನಮ್ರ ಪ್ರಯಾಸವಾಗಿದೆ. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರೂ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸಂಗೀತದ ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠತೆಯನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸಲು ಮತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನು ಹೊಸ ಪೀಳಿಗೆಯವರಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ಹರಡುವ ಗುರಿಯನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಇಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಯಾಣದ ಒಂದು ಹೊಸ ಅಧ್ಯಾಯ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭವಾಗುತ್ತಿದೆ. ಇದು ಒಂದು ಪವಿತ್ರ ಯಾತ್ರೆ. ನಾನು ಮೊದಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದ ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಹಾದಿ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸಂಗೀತದ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತ ಪರಂಪರೆಯನ್ನು ಅನುಸರಿಸುವುದು ಹಾಗೂ ಅದರ ಆಧ್ಯಾತ್ಮಿಕ ಮತ್ತು ಸಾಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಕ ಮೌಲ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಗೌರವಿಸುವುದು. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಲ್ಪನೆಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಗಳು ಇನ್ನೂ ಒಂದು ಪುಟ್ಟ ಮಗು ಅಂಬೆಗಾಲಿಡುತ್ತಿರೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಒಂದು ಮುಗ್ಧ ಪ್ರವೇಶದ ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿವೆ. ಆದರೆ ಈ ಪ್ರಯಾಣದ ಮೂಲ ಶಕ್ತಿ ನಿಮ್ಮಂಥ ಮಾನ್ಯ ಸಂಗೀತಗಾರರು ಹಾಗೂ ರಸಿಕರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಮೇಲೆ ಹರಿಯುತ್ತಿರುವ ಅಚಲ ಬೆಂಬಲ ಮತ್ತು ಅಪಾರ ಉತ್ಸಾಹವಾಗಿದೆ. ಈ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರೇರಣೆಯೊಂದಿಗೆ ನಾವು ದಿಟ್ಟ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಗಳನ್ನು ಇಡುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ದಾರಿ ತುಂಬ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟವಾಗಿ ಕಾಣುತ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲು ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ನನಗೆ. ಇಂದು ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರೆದಿರೋದು ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಈ ಸಮಾನ ಮನೋಭಾವ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಾಂಪ್ರದಾಯಿಕ ಗುರಿಗಳಿಗೆ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಎಂಬ ಶಕ್ತಿಯ ಪ್ರತೀಕವಾಗಿದೆ. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸಂಗೀತದ ಪರಂಪರೆಯನ್ನು ಮುಂದುವರಿಸಲು, ಉಳಿಸಲು ಮತ್ತು ಭವಿಷ್ಯದ ಪೀಳಿಗೆಗೆ ಪ್ರೇರಣೆಯ ಹೊಳೆಯಾಗಿ ಸಾಗಲು ನಾವು ಇಂದು ಒಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ಬದ್ಧರಾಗಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಈ ಸುಂದರ ಯಾತ್ರೆಯನ್ನು ಕೈಗೆತ್ತಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಿರುವಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಹೃದಯವು ಭಕ್ತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಅಭಿಮಾನದಿಂದ ತುಂಬಿರಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಆತ್ಮವು ಸ್ಪಿರಿಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಯೂನಿಟಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಸಮಾನ ಮನೋಭಾವದ ಬೆಳಕಿನಿಂದ ಉಜ್ವಲಿಸಲಿ. ಇನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಲ್ಗೊಂಡು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸಂಗೀತದ ಈ ಮಹತ್ವಪೂರ್ಣ ಕ್ಷಣದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮೊಂದಿಗೆ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಲು ನಮ್ಮ ನಾಡಿನ, ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶದ ಅನೇಕ ತಾರೆಗಳು ಅಂದರೆ ದಿಗ್ಗಜರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರೆದಿರುತ್ತಾರೆ. ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನನ್ನ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ಮೊಟ್ಟ ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ನಮ್ಮ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳಾಗಿ ಆಗಮಿಸಿರುವವರು, ಇವರಿಗೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಬೇಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಹಿ ಈಸ್ ಸಚ್ ಅ ವೆಲ್ ನೋನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲರ್ ಫಿಗರ್ in this nation. It is an honor and privilege to welcome you here, Shri Sai Deepak ji. He is an advocate at Supreme Court of India and also a well-known author. And may I also invite Shri Palghat Ramprasad sir to the dais, another internationally well-known musician and artist par excellence. Please give them another big round of applause. ನಂತರ ನಮ್ಮ ಶೃಂಗೇರಿ ಶಂಕರ ಮಠದ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿಗಳಾದ ಶ್ರೀಕಾಂತ್ ಶರ್ಮರವರನ್ನು ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬರಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮೊಡನೆ ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ SLN ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ನ ಸಂಸ್ಥಾಪಕರಾದ ಸರಸ್ವತಿಯವರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಟು ಯು ಮ್ಯಾಮ್. ಸಂಗೀತ ಜ್ಞಾನಮೂರವರ ಒಂದು ಫೌಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಆದ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪಿಲ್ಲರ್ ಅಂತಲೇ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ರಾಘವನ್ ರಾಮಭದ್ರನ್ ಸರ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ. ಅವರನ್ನು ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸೋಣ. ನಮ್ಮ ಭಾರತ ದೇಶದ ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠ ಪರಂಪರೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಶುಭ ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸೋ ಮೊದಲು ಶುದ್ಧ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನಿಂದ ಪಾವನವಾಗಿರಲಿ ಅಂತ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥಿಸ್ತೀವಿ ಮತ್ತು ಯಾವುದೇ ಥರ ವಿಘ್ನ ಬರದೇ ಇರಲಿ ಅಂತ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥಿಸ್ತೀವಿ. ಇದೇ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ವೈಷ್ಣವಿ ರಾಮದಾಸ್ರವರು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆಯೊಂದಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವರನ್ನು ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಆಹ್ವಾನಿಸುತ್ತೇನೆ. I humbly request the audience to stand up as a mark of our respect for the invocative prayer.
Saraswati namostute Saraswati namostute Sharade Vidyaprade Saraswati namostute Sharade Vidyaprade Saraswati namostute Sharade Vidyaprade Saraswati namostute ಕರದೃತ ವೀಣಾ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಕರದೃತ ವೀಣಾ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಕರದೃತ ವೀಣಾ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ವರಮಣಿಮಾಲಾಲಂಕೃತ ಕರದೃತ ವೀಣಾ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ವರಮಣಿಮಾಲಾಲಂಕೃತ ಸರಸ್ವತಿ ನಮೋಸ್ತುತೆ ಶಾರದೆ ವಿದ್ಯಾಪ್ರದೆ ಸರಸ್ವತಿ ನಮೋಸ್ತುತೆ ನರಹರಿಸುತ ವಿಧಿಲಾಳಿತ ನವಮಣಿಯುತ ಕಂಬುಗಳೇ ನರಹರಿಸುತ ವಿಧಿಲಾಳಿತ ನವಮಣಿಯುತ ಕಂಬುಗಳೇ ಸುರಸೇವಿತ ಪದಯುಗಳೇ ಸುರಸೇವಿತ ಪದಯುಗಳೇ ಸುರಸೇವಿತ ಪದಯುಗಳೇ ಸುಧಾಕರ ಸಮಧವಳೆ ಸುರಸೇವಿತ ಪದಯುಗಳೇ ಸುಧಾಕರ ಸಮಧವಳೆ ಸರಸ್ವತಿ ನಮೋಸ್ತುತೆ ಶಾರದೆ ವಿದ್ಯಾಪ್ರದೆ ಸರಸ್ವತಿ ನಮೋಸ್ತುತೆ
ತುಂಬ ಮಧುರವಾದ ಒಂದು ಗಾನವನ್ನು ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತಪಡಿಸಿದ್ರಿ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ವೈಷ್ಣವಿ ಅವರೇ. ಐ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ದ ಆಡಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಟು ರಿಮೈನ್ ಸೀಟೆಡ್. ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಭಾಷಣವನ್ನು ನೀಡಲು ಶ್ರೀಕಾಂತ್ ಶರ್ಮರವರನ್ನು ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬರಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ.
ಶಾರದಾ ಶಾರದಾಂಭೋಜವದನಾ ವದನಾಂಬುಜೇ ಸರ್ವದಾ ಸರ್ವದಾಸ್ಮಾಕಂ ಸನ್ನಿಧಿಂ ಸನ್ನಿಧಿಂ ಕ್ರಿಯಾತ್ ಸದಾಶಿವಸಮಾರಂಭಾಂ ಶಂಕರಾಚಾರ್ಯಮಧ್ಯಮಾಂ ಅಸ್ಮದಾಚಾರ್ಯಪರ್ಯಂತಾಂ ವಂದೇ ಗುರುಪರಂಪರಾಂ. ಶ್ರೀ ಶಾರದಾ ಚಂದ್ರಮೌಳೀಶ್ವರರಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆಯನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸುತ್ತಾ, ಹಾಗೆ ದಕ್ಷಿಣಾಮ್ನಾಯ ಶೃಂಗೇರಿ ಶಾರದಾ ಪೀಠದ ಉಭಯ ಜಗದ್ಗುರುಗಳ ಪಾದಾರವಿಂದಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಿಸುತ್ತಾ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇಷ್ಟು ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಂಗೀತ ಪ್ರೇಮಿಗಳು, ಸಹೃದಯರು, ಸಂಗೀತ ರಸಿಕರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸಹ SLN ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಸಂಗೀತ ಜ್ಞಾನಮು ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ಭಕ್ತಿಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಈ ಸಂಗೀತ ಜ್ಞಾನಮು ಎಂಬತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಹಾಗೂ SLN ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. I would like to wholeheartedly welcome Shri J. Sai Deepak ji to today's event and Srimati Meera Gopalakrishnan ji, Shri B.L. Lakshmi Narasimha sir, Srimati Saraswati ma'am, Shri Palghat Ramprasad ji, and also Shri Raghavan ji to this august assembly, and lot of Sangeetha rasikas and musicians are there. I would like to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of us, one of you. ಆಚಾರ್ಯ ಶಂಕರರು ವಿವೇಕ ಚೂಡಾಮಣಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ದುರ್ಲಭಂ ತ್ರಯಮೈವೇತತ್ ದೈವಾನುಗ್ರಹ ಹೇತುಕಂ ಮನುಷ್ಯತ್ವಂ ಮುಮುಕ್ಷತ್ವಂ ಮಹಾಪುರುಷ ಸಂಶ್ರಯ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, ಹೀಗೆ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ ಟು ಗೆಟ್ ಮನುಷ್ಯತ್ವಂ ಮುಮುಕ್ಷತ್ವಂ and the association of diggajas like this. Even in the audience there are, eminent musicians, eminent like rasikas and lot of mahapurushas. So I consider it a great fortune that we are all assembled today. And ಒಂದು ವಿದ್ಯುಕ್ತವಾಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಭೆಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರಿತಾ ಮುಂದಿನ ಒಂದು ಅಂಗಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ ಅಂತ ನಮಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಓಂ ತತ್ಸತ್.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್. ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಬಯಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಇಂದಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಹಂತ ನಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ತಿಳಿದಿರುವ ಹಾಗೆ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸಂಗೀತದ ಪ್ರತಿಜ್ಞೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈ ಪ್ರತಿಜ್ಞೆಯನ್ನು ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋ ಮುಂಚೆ ಇದರ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಏನು, ಇದರ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಹಾಗೂ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಅತ್ಯಗತ್ಯವಾಗಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಈ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಹಿರಿಯ ಕಲಾವಿದರಾದ ಪಾಲ್ಘಾಟ್ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ರಾಮ್ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಸರ್ರನ್ನು ಸಂಗೀತ ಜ್ಞಾನದ ಮಹತ್ವವನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸಿಕೊಡಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸಂಗೀತದ ಪ್ರತಿಜ್ಞೆಯ ಸಾರವನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿಸಿ ಎಂದು ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಆಹ್ವಾನಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. I wish I knew enough Kannada to be addressing this August gathering in Kannada, but I would rather use my choppy English and at least convey what I want to communicate, rather than speak a language which I don't know and perhaps talk something which I don't want to convey. I am one of you, I am one among you, who shares the feeling and sentiment that when someone like Sri Sai Deepak ji is here and he is not talking, then the time is not used optimally. Right? Keeping that pretty much in mind, let me just try to, in a few minutes, summarize the background and motivation of this Carnatic music pledge. So the pledge says, it reads, I will respect the Bhakti and Dharmic roots of Carnatic music, and I will not entertain any ideas or actions that undermine the same. Now, what is so great about this pledge? Aren't we just stating the obvious, right? I mean, it is tantamount to saying that it's like saying that I'm taking a pledge that if my parents are in need, I will go help them. It's as obvious as that, right? However, in these times, in these challenging times, unfortunately, we have been forced and we have been reduced to this level where it becomes imperative to sometimes state the obvious. And not just state the obvious, but keep on saying that. Why? In the last few years, maybe the last few decades, the viewpoints and the narratives which used to undermine the traditions and the roots of India per se, those forces have unfortunately seeped into Carnatic music and dance. Now, these ideologies and narratives are the ones which have heavy backing, which has a lot of ecosystem support. It could be the support financially, it could be the support from media, right? It could be the support from network. And why am I saying this? So what? Now, if you have such a supportive ecosystem, to keep on saying and keep on using these viewpoints as narratives over and over and over and again and saying that it's not important to have our traditions, we are radically thinking it's not important to have our roots. And let's say this is the only viewpoint that is being heard on and on and on over years. And the other side chooses to remain silent for various reasons. For various reasons. If the other side chooses to remain silent over years, then over a passage of time, what happens is, this narrative, which talks about undermining our culture and tradition, is the one which is going to keep on going, get heard, and that's going to have the visibility. And over time, that's going to be normalized. A very striking parallel that we can see is in that of, I'm not a big movie watcher, but in Tamil movies, if you see in the last few years, the way how alcoholism is now normalized, right? If you're happy, you drink. You are sad, you drink. You want to talk to your parents, you drink. You are in a relationship, you drink. You break up, you drink. You drink, you drink. Right? So, it's become very hard for us to believe, or hard for the youngsters to believe, that there can be fun without alcoholism. That's the state to which we are reduced to, right? So this is the kind of parallel that we all should be aware and should guard ourselves. Especially when it comes to an art like Carnatic music or dance. Let's take the simple example of Purandaradasa's Rama 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 Eniro. I mean, did he compose this song because artists like Palghat Ramprasad will take up that song, sing it, and earn money? I am doing it. That's a different thing, right? But what was the purpose? What was the motivation? What was the intention of creating those compositions? It was out of bhakti. It was out of pure surrender. It was out of submission to something which is beyond human understanding. And anything that is beyond human understanding, we submit to, right? Even those ideas or those people who might probably want to say that Carnatic music can be devoid of all these kinds of bhakti, let me ask a simple question. Fine. You don't have to have a connotation of a God's name. Fine. However, as musicians, we know that we have to stick to Shruti and Talam, right? Let's say I want to align with a note, Panchamam or Daivatam. Can I sing whatever note I want and call it Panchamam? No. No. I have to align to something which is already out there, which means it's a process of submission, right? I have to ensure that I consider this Panchamam elusive. So, I do what it takes humbly to get to that note. That humility is what is bhakti. So how is it even possible for us to extract Bhakti out of Carnatic music and say that I'm a Carnatic musician? It's very hard to even process this. So tying this back to the motivation of this pledge. So I started off by saying that we are hearing only one side, and that one side is a narrative, which probably is divisive in nature, particularly to undermine our culture and roots. And I'm going to add one point here. These narratives are extremely fancy for people to follow because they come under the garb of self-inquiry. All these fancy terms, self-inquiry, right? A process of experimentation, process of understanding, process of intellectualizing. These are amazing words. So even people who may not know these words would want to associate with this narrative because they can be coined as intellectual supporters. So I don't have to do the hard work. I can just be termed an intellectual merely by aligning to those views. It becomes fancy. And given that there is a lot of support for this kind of a system, why not? It's an easy way out. Who wouldn't want to do that? And on the other side, the complacency of people who might want to totally believe in the fact that our arts, especially Carnatic music, dance, these are based out of our cultural roots, our dharmic roots. The mere complacency of, why to state the obvious, that is probably creating a foreground for the other narrative to flourish much more than what it should. When Sri Raghavan and few other friends of mine who have been working, probably not in Carnatic music for the last several years, but who have been working to ensure that they preserve and celebrate the dharmic and bhakti roots of various fields. And in the last few months, when they reached out to me and asked, what's happening in Carnatic music? I said, it's the obvious. Now let's state the obvious, right? So when they reached out to me and asked about this Carnatic music pledge and how it can tie to Sangeetha Jnanamu, I was happy on multiple levels. One, perhaps they all acknowledged or they processed or internalized, even without talking to me in detail, that perhaps it's not a great idea to try to unite artists. May not work for several reasons. I mean, there is no right and wrong here, right? Whether I subscribe to something is one thing. Whether I'm open to saying I'm subscribed to something is something different. That is each one's choice. We are not questioning it there. However, this entire movement, which ensures that the other stakeholders of the fraternity, like rasikas, you rasikas are the ones who are the backbones for Carnatic music to thrive as a business. Let's face it, as a musician, I make money out of singing, right? If I'm going to sing like 15 concerts in empty halls, I'm not a good businessman. I'm not a successful professional artist. I may sing a great Kedara Gowda, but I need people, right? So for them to ensure they bring this kind of a stakeholder interaction of rasikas, what can you all do? A lot. You can do a lot. Merely spreading the word. Merely spreading the word that even those viewpoints which say that bhakti is not important to Carnatic music, the moment they sing anything sans lyrics, it doesn't have to be any lyrics, just a normal sangati, which requires an alignment to Shruti or Talam, by definition is bhakti, is by definition submission. We are subservient. We are subservient. And you can show your power because you are the rasikas who make art is successful or not from a business angle, right? Now, if you choose to encourage and support artists who might believe in these kinds of roots and traditions, right? Now, just a small digression, yet important. Let's say those viewpoints which might not subscribe to Bhakti, let's say there are few artists that way. Have they stopped singing the songs which were created out of Bhakti? Anyone? They still sing the compositions which was created with the intention of submission and Bhakti. So singing the same songs and saying that Bhakti is not important, I think we have to be cognizant, right? I mean, it is one thing to easily pass the buck. It is one thing to take ownership at whatever level. As rasikas, you can take ownership. As artists, we can take ownership. As Sabha secretaries, probably Sri Srikant sir can take some responsibility. Right? As connoisseur of art, Sri Sai Deepak ji, the fact that he's coming here means that he's supporting this. Right? So each one of us have a responsibility to take it forward in whichever way we can. The only thing is we have to start questioning rather than being silent. The simple question that we can ask is, people and artists or the community of artists who might say that Carnatic music can be devoid of Bhakti, let them take a public oath saying that from now on, no songs will be handled in concerts which was created out of Bhakti. That will be a great starting point for us to ponder whether such ideas can flourish. Right? That is something which we can definitely think of. Even if those artists are able to sing a phrase in a raga or a swaram, and if they can vouch that they have not been inspired by the compositions which were created out of Bhakti, it would be a hard-pressed game to win. I'm sorry. One way or the other, we are inspired. We are subservient to Bhakti, directly or indirectly. Indirectly through the compositions that we sing, or the inspiration that we have gotten from the compositions that were created out of Bhakti and subservience. So whichever route you take, at the end of it, it reaches a point which says, artists are artists, but there is something much beyond. And it is this humility which is termed as Bhakti. And these are the Bhakti roots that Carnatic music and dance form thrives on. Each and every move, each and every solo that a percussionist plays, each and every note that a violinist plays, each and every note that a singer tries to align to, is rooted in this submission. It is out of this desperation that can't I align to something which is supreme. It could be one simple note, but that is what we work for. Day in and day out, what artists work for is to align to that. What is that? That is something which is unknown. And this journey is nothing but a journey of Bhakti. So, this is the general background of the pledge, which says that, which states the obvious, that I will respect the dharmic and the Bhakti roots of Carnatic music, is nothing but stating the obvious, saying that, listen, we are forced to a situation, we are pushed to a situation wherein we have to say, yeah, I am a male. Yeah, I am a singer. Yeah, I am standing in front of this mic. People will come and say, oh, this is a nice pen. After a few years, they will say that on and on and on, and this will be called a pen. This is inconsequential. But what is of consequence is something which gave us this art form, which is Bhakti. So this is pretty much the background and motivation for even coining this pledge. And I don't know if sincere gratitude or thanks is the right word to, put across when I think of how my friends, these are all my college friends, Sri Raghavan, Sri Upili, Sri Balaji, 4 or 5 like-minded people who came in with this idea. And I think we all owe a lot to them. And I sincerely thank Sri Srikant sir to have taken this up. And there was absolutely no questions. The moment the idea was rolled out, it was like, it's happening here, that's it. And that is the kind of support that we are enjoying right now. And that is what we ride in. And this is the kind of energy we feed on. So as Rasikas, obviously, as I said, you have a lot to do. You can show your power where you can. And you can also spread the word. And for someone like Sri Sai Deepak ji, despite his busy schedule, and I know how many of you would have been so happy that the program started like about 20-25 minutes late, because you had a chance to, interact with Sri Sai Deepak ji. So that way, I can be excused, I guess. Anyway, I apologize for my delay, regardless. I would like to thank Sri VVS, who has been instrumental, VV Subramaniam sir, who has been a source of coordination for all these things that's been happening from all the sides. Sri Srikant sir, and Raghavan, Sri Sai Deepak ji, SLN Trust. And I think we all owe it to you all, because you are the ones who are making it a success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I would only like to add, as I mentioned in the introductory note, I'm sure that it is a need of the hour, and it is imperative that we have to state the obvious. But seeing such a big gathering here is only testimony to the fact that we are indeed on the right path, and I think we should all take a moment to be proud about it, sir. Thank you for explaining the essence. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಮುಂದಿನ ಹಂತಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ. ನೀವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕಾಯ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತು. ಆದರೂ ನನ್ನ ಪುಟ್ಟ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ ಶ್ರೀ ಸಾಯಿ ದೀಪಕ್ ರವರ ಒಂದು ಕಿರು ಪರಿಚಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಮೈ ಪ್ರಿವಿಲೇಜ್ ಟು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಶ್ರೀ ಸಾಯಿ ದೀಪಕ್ ಜಿ ಟು ದಿ ಆಡಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್. He is an advocate, a preeminent legal scholar and advocate with profound expertise in constitutional law and public interest litigation. In his own words, he is an engineer turned litigator, practicing as an arguing counsel before the High Court of Delhi and the Supreme Court of India. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Anna University and a bachelor's degree in law from IIT Kharagpur. And until June 2016, please clap as much as you want to. You're all entitled to do that. He was a litigator at the NCR-based firm Sai Krishna and Associates. He was an associate partner at the firm when he quit in June 2016 to set up independent practice as an arguing counsel. Civil, commercial litigation, constitutional law, and competition law are his primary areas of practice. Since 2010, he has been writing intermittently on the blog The Demanding Mistress on civil commercial litigation. His esteemed academic credentials and extensive legal experience have established him as a leading figure in the field of law. Sai Deepak ji has earned widespread acclaim for his adept handling of critical cases involving constitutional and fundamental rights, demonstrating exceptional commitment and integrity. He is renowned for his eloquent public speaking and oratory skills. He has captivated audiences with his incisive and articulate presentations at numerous distinguished forums. His speeches not only illuminate complex legal issues, but also engage and inspire listeners. Also an acclaimed author, we are all very aware of the books that he has written, India that is Bharat, and India, Bharat and Pakistan. He is also an avid blogger and an active personality on social media, and he has over 700,000 followers on his social media profile. Sai Deepak ji's contributions extend beyond the courtroom, encompassing active participation in legal discourse and educational endeavors. His work exemplifies a deep-seated dedication to legal reform and societal advancement. It is a privilege to have him with us today. Let us extend a warm and respect welcome to Sai Deepak ji. I invite him over to the dais to address the audience about the role of tradition in sacred arts. Over to you, Sai Deepak ji.
Namaste. Namaskara. I don't know where to start with, but I have to start with a few corrections. My apologies. My junior is sitting here, so he knows. I am not and will never be a public interest litigator. And there is a reason for this. Fortunately, I think I suffer from no savior complex. Because I think it's time that our causes are freed from personality cults. And I think we have paid the price for following a personality cult for over a decade now. I'll just leave it at that. Second, in the incidents of the last 2 to 3 weeks that have been happening in the eastern neighborhood of Bharat, and incidents or instances that have triggered the need for such platforms sometimes make me wonder. This is Bangalore, you understand Tamil, so tolerate my Tamil, it's okay. I'll switch to that language as often as possible. I keep wondering, should I continue with my practice or should I jump into this? What am I supposed to do is the question that I often go through. There are harrowing instances where sometimes I go through questions which I don't think anybody else can answer because nobody can relate to my journey. It's unfortunately a lonely journey in that sense. The one thing I've realized is that if I were to give up my professional practice as a hard-nosed commercial litigator, underscore the words commercial litigator because that's what I do, public interest litigation doesn't interest me even remotely, is it gives me the financial independence and let's call it intellectual or integrity independence to speak my mind without having to depend on anyone else. It's contrary to all the obligations that are imposed on a Brahmin. And unfortunately or fortunately, maybe that is the way or the model that I can subscribe to. Perhaps because the society is not conducive enough for a Brahmin to follow all the Shastric obligations. So I have no other option but to do this. Second, as much as I would want to be part of islands of purity such as this, there is dirt outside. And I have to be part of the dirt to deal with it. So I have to be a man of the world, underscore the word man here, man of the world for me to deal with the rest of the world. So there is no other option. This is not about me. I have to clarify a few things so that I set the tone and the context of what I'm about to discuss with you. One of the reasons I made the transition from engineering to law was to understand the system very well, including the dirt in the system. If you think that everything that I've taken up as a cause as part of my litigation practice has always been honest, no, it's not. It's a lawyer's game at the end of the day. I'm a lawyer's lawyer. I won't even beat around the bush on that. I will not subscribe to any hypocritical positions on that. Second, the other reason I took up the profession was to present a very clear position on issues and causes that are dear to me. Not because I want to protect them for the sake of dharma. I don't think I have the standing or the understanding. I'm doing it merely to pass on a way of life that I've grown up with and benefited from to my children. That's the only selfish interest. Everything else is incidental and ancillary to that primary core selfish interest. So that articulation is to ensure that when my child goes out He is not bullied for wearing the namam or the tilak or the tika or sporting a shikha or having a cross belt across his chest. So I'm doing this to make it safer for my child, period. And because I'm so clear and unabashed about my selfish motives, people cannot at the very least say that there is something else to this game and there is some other agenda that he is trying to push. This is my very clear agenda. I will push it without any degree of shame. 2, I think he was underplaying it. Mr. Ramprasad, I could have listened to him for another 45 minutes. Because I don't know what is intellectualism if not what he put on display for the last half an hour. Very clear in what he said. As a practitioner, he knows the sampradaya that he represents. He understands, unfortunately, he is forced to understand the politics of that particular game, which he is currently a part of. 3, he has exactly explained to you how that game works. So what is it that I can present in terms of value addition to what he has already presented? Please understand the risk that he has taken by sticking his neck out. Please understand that. People don't realize that. Here I can confidently say, please also understand the kind of risks that people like us have to take. The only thing that ultimately validates this risk is when we see not the government responding, but when the society responds. Because the government is a creature of incentive. Society responds because it actually has a beating heart. And that's one of the reasons that I put more faith in the society than in the government, so that pressure is put on the government through the society, because this will last longer. This is a slower game, but a slow burn rocket will travel faster, or at least longer. So I am hoping that these investments, I couldn't have thought of a platform such as this a couple of years ago. I don't think this would have been possible at all remotely for multiple reasons. One, it's a function of awareness. Second, it's a function of guts plus awareness. Today you have it. My limited disagreement with Mr. Ramprasad is only on one aspect, and that's something I have learned on my own in the last few years. So last year, I think December 2022, I was at this blessed institution called Kalakshetra. Now I'll leave it to people to understand what I'm getting at. Bharata Muni's Natya Shastram is not welcome in Kalakshetra anymore. Apparently there is something called Kootanulu, which is apparently an interpolation in Tamil which somebody pulled out of the blue, God knows from where. Apparently that is older than Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra, and that has to be taught. And somebody like Sri Bharat Gupta, who is the living legend on Natya Shastra, is not welcome in Kalakshetra anymore. So to address that problem, since my job is to play the Narada Muni everywhere, I was called there. Sir, please come, set fire and go. I said, okay, I'll come. And this was before the controversy started there, because the rumblings of the controversy had already started then. So when I went there, I could see a lot of faces which are wondering, what is this hate monger doing here? I said, mission accomplished 50%. And during the process of understanding how this entire artistic ecosystem has been infiltrated, it is not recent, sir. In fact, it's been going on before independence. I then started reading up. It's been going on ever since somebody came here to harvest souls. Because they realized that those institutions which actually have the heart space and the mind space of the public need to be infiltrated. And therefore, all traditions related to the temple must be infiltrated. And they must be secularized, de-Hinduized, and let me say the word actually, de-Sanskritized. So the process of de-Sanskritization and the process of secularization have happened over the last 200 years, according to me, starting from at least the 1750s. So the the battle right now is to prevent the concept called Bharat, which is the product of Sanskritization over thousands of years. There's nothing wrong in saying that. What connects Bengali and Tamil, Telugu and all these languages across the country is the smattering of Sanskrit in their vocabulary, at least to the extent of 40% in their languages. That is the presence of Sanskrit and the Sanskritic effect, which then decides that the only way you connect this civilization is by creating a culture which does not kill the local, but ties up the multiple locals to create a civilization. Now, what the other side has done is to pick apart that super layer, one by one, thread by thread, strand by strand, so that the local is given primacy, and then locals will start fighting with the other local. The tentative title of my third book is precisely for this reason. It's called The Journey from Bharat to India, the Cultural Balkanization of Bharat and Constitutionalism. And the reason is, your fundamental Sanskrit